Early on, we look down at king 6 suited in the big blind. Small blind raises to 30. We're getting 2-1 in position. I call. It's heads up. The flop comes 6-5 deuce with 2 diamonds. We have top pair. Small blind fires for 50. It's certainly on the larger side, but I don't see how we fold here. I call, knowing there are very few good cards that I'll be seeing on future streets. The turn is the 4 of spades. Any 3 makes a straight. This appears to worry the small blind. He checks. We have a hand with a decent amount of showdown value. No need to bet as a bluff. I check back. The river is the king of hearts, probably the best card that I could hit. We have an extremely hidden and very unlikely top 2 pair. I'm feeling good until the small blind makes a very large bet at 250. It's about 1.5 times the size of the pot. Once I check back turn, it's pretty clear to the small blind that I won't have a straight. I'm not sure what he's repping after checking the turn either. I'll typically have to fold to a bet this size almost no matter what, so it's a great sizing for when he's bluffing. Unlucky for him that I drilled 2 pair on the river, and I'm at the very top of my range after checking on the previous street. I'm not letting it go this time. I call. Yeah, and we're no good. The opponent has ace-3 offsuit. We flopped a gutter with a backdoor flush draw, then got one of the best runouts possible to cause me maximum pain. Next I've got 5-4 hearts on the button. The cutoff raises to 30. This is the dude who got me in the previous hand. Let's go ahead and take a look at what upswing says you should do with 5-4 suited in this situation. Okay. It says that we should be folding or raising from the button when the cutoff opens. These pre-flop charts are good and they're helpful, but they're not perfect. They don't account for every component. For instance, in this hand, we're out for revenge, which is not factored into upswing's charts at all. You can make the argument that you're supposed to 3-bet with it when you want revenge. Sure, but it still leaves out a lot of other hands that you should be playing. I'm taking it upon myself to make my own chart when you're getting at least 1-1 against someone who deserves punishment. Everything in yellow is a hand that you'll be minimally calling with. It's a very wide range. In fact, the only hand that we fold is 5 deuce offsuit. Turns out that it just doesn't play that well. Now you might be thinking, why do we play 4 deuce offsuit then? And that's a good question, but the problems we have with 4 deuce and 3 deuce are offset by how much more enjoyable it is to get revenge and win with a hand that sucks that badly. This is all stuff that's corroborated by solvers. Anyway, I call, the small blind calls, the big blind also calls. We go 4 ways to the flop. In position, it comes ace-10-4 with 2 hearts. We have bottom pair with a flush draw and backdoor straight draw. Checks to me, I bet 70. I'm happy to take down the pot now or make it bigger in case I win. Small blind and big blind fold. The nemesis and the cutoff calls. We're down to heads up. The turn is the 9 of spades. The cutoff checks. I slow down and check back to make sure that I can see the river. The dealer puts out the king of hearts. We make the baby flush. The cutoff checks. I'm not sure what type of hand he's going to be showing up with. Could be either a 10 of some sort or maybe a weak ace. All I know is he has too many Bradley dollars and I want to get as many back as possible. I bet 200 for value. The player considers his options for a while, then lays it down. I would have preferred a call. Perhaps I should have bet smaller. At least we win and we aren't stuck too much. Later we pick up ace-10 offsuit in the small blind. I raise to 30. The big blind calls. He seems a little annoyed at me because I've been aggressively fighting for small pots and taking them down without much resistance. We're heads up. The flop is 10-8 deuce rainbow. We've got top pair, top kicker. I bet 30 for value and for protection. We don't want to see kings, queens, or jacks on future streets. The big blind has had enough of me trying to steal pots. Or, maybe he has the nuts. He min raises to 60. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I folded for that amount. I call for 30 more. The turn is a 6, so 9-7 makes a straight. I check to the razor. He's not giving up. He bets 90. That's an amount that I'm not going to be folding for either. This hand is weird and I don't really know what's going on. The river is a queen. It's one of those cards that I told you we didn't want to see. Jack 9 makes a straight. Queen Jack and Queen 10 beat us as well. I check. I wouldn't mind seeing a check back. Nope. The big blind bets 150. It's another small bet that I won't be able to fold to. Generally, you don't want to be calling other people's bets that often, especially on the river. It's a bad habit that I've been doing too much lately. I call. This time it pays off. The big blind mucks without showing. No idea what he had. His chips become the newest Bradley dollars on the market. We're unstuck. In this one, we're dealt pocket 4s on the button. Under the gun opens at 30. We're still 5-handed, so under the gun is the same as the hijack. The cutoff calls. I'm happy to join in as well. I call. We go 3 ways to the flop. I'm not kidding you. I look up and see my set genie walking around. Then the flop comes Jack 5-4 with 2 clubs. The genie is struck again. Unfortunately, the pre-flop raiser checks. The cutoff checks as well. There are lots of draws out there. We're not checking back. I bet 50, expecting to take it down pretty often without any resistance. Surprisingly, under the gun throws in a $200 check raise. The cutoff folds. The action's back on me. Strange situation. The opponent could have an overpair, a big draw, set, or maybe he's making a move with something like 8-7 of spades. Part of me wants to flat in order to let the player hang himself, The problem with that is the amount of cards that I won't want to see. I obviously don't want more clubs, and any ace, deuce, 3, 6, 7, or 8 will make straights possible. Overcards could be bad for me or kill action by making the opponent less confident about his hand. It's best to try and get as much money in now as I can. I re-raised to 550. Players looking at both of our stacks. We started fairly deep. He has about 1,800 total. I have him covered. If he shoves, I'm going to be snap calling. Almost a full minute goes by, then the player folds pocket queens face up, makes a great laydown. I'm a bit surprised he went with a check raise rather than betting flop to begin with, but he gets away from it without getting hurt too badly.
Okay, sorry about that. What can I get for you?
Could I please get 2 McJiggities?
Sorry, what?
They're served hot. I have them right at the table in the small blind. Under the gun opens to 40. Cutoff calls. I flat because the under the gun player has been limping pretty regularly, so when he opens from anywhere, it sets off alarm bells, but particularly when he's in early position. 3 of us are still in it. The flop comes ace-8-4 with 2 spades. Not great for us or anyone else, it appears. We all check. The turn is obviously the jack of clubs. What else would it be? We make our third set. This is where the hand starts to get weird. I'm first to act and I bet 80. At the same time I'm doing this, the cutoff thinks it's on him and bets 25. Under the gun folds. Now there's some confusion on whether the cutoff is allowed to take his chips back or not. Technically, he's not supposed to, but it's a strange situation, and $25 isn't very much anyway.
If you didn't see the bet, then just act like, do whatever you want, I guess.
Instead of getting the floor involved, the opponent makes the call for the full 80. The river is the 10 of hearts. King, queen, and 9-7 make straights. Not a whole lot to worry about overall. I bet 130 to milk some chips out of the cutoff. He tanks for a full minute. He's thinking about calling me light. He's a vlog watcher named Henry. Ultimately, he shows a jack and lets his cards go.
Good fold then. That was a weird one.
A few orbits later, we have pocket fours on the button. We had a set with him earlier. Maybe we can make another one. I raised to 30. Small blind calls. He's a new player at the table. We're heads up. The flop comes ace-5-3. It's tough to make a set every time, and we obviously don't make one here. We actually make quads. The real flop is ace-4-4. I'm hitting tons of huge hands this session. Poker's lots of fun today. Small blind checks. The board isn't that connected. I don't want to scare off the opponent by betting in case he doesn't have an ace. I check back. The turn is the king of hearts. At least there's some more draws out there. It gets better because the opponent bets 50. Out of respect, take a moment of silence for the opponent since he's drawing dead. This is also a good time for you to hit the like and subscribe buttons. If you do, I'll tell you what happens next. That was very cool of you. Thanks a lot. Okay, I raised to 130. Please don't fold, dude. He doesn't. He makes the call. I hope that he gets whatever he needs, whether it's a heart or some other big card. The river is the 8 of clubs. No draws get there. Not ideal. The small blind checks. It's very unlikely that my opponent will be able to call a bet of any sort. I put out 340, hoping that the dude will have an ace and he'll think I'm trying to get him off a chop, or perhaps he'll think that I'm bluffing with a hand like Jack 10 of hearts. I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. I'm not bluffing. I have it. Small blind thinks just long enough for it to appear like he has a real decision before folding.
Did flop quads on that one.
This one. I'm excited. The table's excited. I'm running good. Aces. I'm under the gun +1. I raise to 30. The player on my left calls. The button calls as well. Small blind is the dude who tried to bluff me earlier. Mine read my bet and slow rolled me in a chopped pot. He's thinking about doing something crazy. He 3-bets to 90. It's a tiny sizing, especially considering there are 2 callers before him and he's out of position. Initially, the small blind was stuck and playing crazy. Now he's running up the largest stack at the table and is playing much more conservatively. Maybe he has something like kings or ace-king that he can call a 4-bet with, or potentially he'll even 5-bet. I'm certainly not flatting, giving the players behind me great odds to also call. I raised to 350. Might seem on the larger side, but it's not really when you consider how much money's already in the middle. I also want to build up this pot as much as possible while I know I have the best hand. Middle position player folds, the button gets out of there, the action's on the small blind again. I wish he'd seen my 9-7 suited 3-bet, or perhaps was playing like he was when he was stuck. He doesn't seem to want to get involved since I've shown a lot of strength and we're both really deep. He folds queens face up.
It's hard to call if you're gonna show. Nice hand, man.
My soul gets owned. It hurts not to get paid more there and in some of the previous hands, but we're up a nice chunk of money for a session that I only played because I happened to wake up in the middle of the night. Small blind picks up a few minutes later, and it's time for me to rack up as well.